So I finally got to see Macbeth. I read probably over a year ago that Michael Fassbender would be starring in a film adaptation of this play, and I've been looking forward to it ever since. This movie is directed by Justin Kurzel and stars Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard. I never really got into Macbeth the way that I did with Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet, so I figured this movie would be a good way to experience it fully for the first time. With any faithful Shakespeare adaptation, it helps to have read the play before you see the movie, so that understanding the dialogue on the fly isn't vital to understanding the plot. I haven't read Macbeth in its entirety, so I was pretty worried, especially in the first few scenes of this film. A lot of these characters have thick Scottish accents, so add on top of that the fact that they're speaking Shakespearean dialogue, and you can imagine that it's pretty hard to understand. Some people might just give up trying to follow the movie and end up wasting 2 hours of their life. But if you just hang in there, it's worth it. I may have only understood every other sentence, but if you're paying attention, the director does a really good job of making the plot easy to follow. For me, it ended up being that the actual words being spoken weren't nearly as important as the performances being given by the actors in this movie. I already mentioned the only problem I had with this movie, which was that it was hard to understand what the characters were saying a lot of the time. But that partially falls on my lack of familiarity with Macbeth. So now on to what was good. I mentioned the actors a minute ago, so let's start with Michael Fassbender. Did this movie get consideration for the award shows this season? If so, I really don't know what people were thinking nominating him for Steve Jobs, but not for this. Fassbender was fun to watch in this, especially as the movie goes on and Macbeth just gets crazier and crazier. This guy can act crazy with the best of them. Now on to Marion Cotillard. I've never seen her give a performance that wasn't great. Go watch her in La Vie en Rose if you haven't already. But this one is the real Oscars snub. How in the world does she get snubbed in the supporting actress category this year? Again, there's a nomination for Steve Jobs in this category that doesn't come close, and that's Kate Winslet. She's a great actress and did fine, but watch these two performances back to back and it doesn't even come close. This brings up something a little off topic that I want to mention. The chemistry between Fassbender and Cotillard feels genuine, and they're both top-notch actors, so they really elevated each other's performances here. This really reassured me about another film I'm looking forward to, which is Assassin's Creed. These two movies have the same director and the same lead actors, so in some ways Macbeth was like a test run, and it gives an impression of how this director might handle Assassin's Creed. I'll tell you right now that I am not worried at all. That movie seems to be in good hands. Now I'm not quite done talking about the actors in Macbeth because we haven't talked about Macduff, played by Sean Harris. I first saw this guy in Prometheus, and recently as the villain in Mission Impossible. In this movie, Macbeth is the villain, and Macduff is kind of the good guy that in the end I'm rooting for. His performance in this was on the same level as Fassbender and Cotillard, which is really impressive because everyone knows who those two are, but I think that people are going to start paying attention to this guy. Last thing I'm going to mention about this movie is the cinematography work, which was incredible. Even if you don't enjoy the movie, I don't think anyone could deny that it's a beautifully shot film. Most of my favorite Shakespeare film adaptations are shot like plays. They don't deviate very far from what you would see on stage, but this one is much more of a motion picture than what I've seen before. There are quick cuts and the camera tricks that help to reinforce the story and help guide the viewer through all the sometimes confusing conversations. So all in all, I really enjoyed Macbeth. It will definitely get added to my collection of great Shakespeare films, including Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet and the 1968 adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, which is saying a lot because I love those two movies. Despite the dialogue, which can be hard to follow, this movie kept me engaged and made sure that nothing went over my head. For all these reasons, I'm giving Macbeth an 84%. Check it out if you can, let me know what you think in the comments below, leave a like if you did, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.